Hey everyone, it's John here from Hot Take Hockey, back with another video. I want to go over breakout players for all 32 teams. And let's start at the top, alphabetical. Number 1, Anaheim Ducks, Jamie Drysdale. I think Drysdale healthy could show up big time. So when we're talking about breakout players having a big breakout year, I feel like Drysdale's high on that list. Right shot defenseman, I think he's going to easily be a top 4 guy consistently in this league. I was really high on him when they drafted him, saying top pair guy. We still need to see more, but I think he's going to break out. Arizona Coyotes, number 2, Barrett Hayton. I think with Hayton, especially if he finds the consistent time with Keller and Schmaltz, he's going to get the points. He's going to get the production. I think we saw it in the second half of last year. I think Hayton could have a big overall breakout year. Boston Bruins, Morgan Geekie. I think if at any point Geekie finds himself in the top 6, he could go off for 50, 60 points. I still think he's going to have a great year by default because the Bruins need offense from their centers here. No more Bergeron. We'll see what happens with Krejci. Zacha and Coyle could be the 1-2 punch. But if at any point, as I said, if they shift Zacha to the wing to play with Pastrnak in a center, it's going to be between Coyle and Geekie. And if Geekie gets time like that in the top 6, he's going to go off. Buffalo Sabres, Casey Middlestat. We saw some chemistry brewing with Dylan Cousins. And I just feel like regardless, Casey Middlestat, center or wing, I think it's time. You get in your mid-20s. You were a top 15 draft pick. It's time for Middlestat to go off. I believe he goes off this year. Dylan Dubé. I think with the Flames, it's tough because it's like you could go like some of the super young guys to break out here, like a Pelche or like even if Zari got an opportunity. But I just feel like Shillington could bounce back, being back in. But I think Dubé might have a chance here to be in the top 6. And I think if he does, he could go off. I think he's at that point where he's in the middle of his 20s, similar to Middlestat. And I think he could be a guy that sneaky scores like 25 goals, 60 something points. Maybe that's a stretch for Dubé, and maybe he gets nowhere close to that. But I just feel like if he gets the right opportunity in the lineup and power play, he could get some numbers. Seth Jarvis, I just feel like this is the obvious pick for Carolina. I think there's a couple other candidates. I mean, my hot take would be like Bunting having an even crazier year with Carolina, because that's exactly what Hyman did with Edmonton. So maybe, but Hyman also got McDavid. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like that's the easy answer here. Seth Jarvis, if he's playing in the top 6, maybe even playing with Aho, I think he's going to go off for 60, 70 points. Lucas Reichel, I mean, I'll just put it simply this way. If Bedard has a great first year and Reichel's on a line with Bedard and Taylor Hall, he's going to rack up assists. Regardless if they're secondary or not, he's going to rack up points. I feel like Reichel's a lock for 50-plus points if he's consistently on that top line. I think there's quite higher ceiling there, but I think Reichel's going to get some numbers. Had some great numbers in the AHL. I think he'll show. Bowen Byram, I think it's his time. Especially, here's the thing. If there's an opportunity with Eric Johnson gone on the right side where you could shift like Bowen Byram on the right side, or even just have him with Manson, for example. Like if they go Devon Taves, Makar, and then Byram, Manson, that could be a vibe. But I feel like Byram's going to get big-time responsibilities to go 5-on-5 and even potentially power play. So I would look out for Byram. I think he's got the versatility, play anywhere around the ice on the defensive side, and also be a quarterback. So I think even with Makar holding the reins, I think we could see a big breakout from Byram as the number 2. Bemstrom. I think this is the hot take. I think there's a lot of guys that will look at like Kent Johnson or like, I mean, Fantilli's just jumping on the scene. So like that's like a breakout. I mean, it's going to be his first year. But I just feel like a lot of people will be looking at those guys and even maybe some hot takes on Cole Sillinger. But I just feel like Emil Bemstrom, he's put up some nuts numbers in the AHL. He's shown that he can put up like 30-something points in the NHL. I feel like Bemstrom's a candidate if he's in the top 9 and maybe even top 6 to be a 50-plus point guy. I feel like that's a pretty good breakout guy for someone that people don't talk about. Thomas Harley. I feel like Harley. So in my other video for early playoff predictions, early season predictions, I've talked about the Dallas Stars needing to get a top 4 guy. This could be that guy. I mean, talk about grabbing a guy out of your system. If Thomas Harley has the versatility to even play on the right side potentially at some point, or if Lindell shifts to the right side, like Harley could find top 4 minutes consistently and also put up numbers if he finds himself on the second power play unit. So I think Harley could have a big year for Dallas. Detroit Red Wings, I think Lucas Raymond, simply this. If he finds himself kind of similar to other guys I've talked about in this list so far, if you find yourself on the top line with skilled guys, like in this case, Dylan Larkin and Alex DeBrincat, you're going to put up numbers just by default. But the fact that Raymond's got the skill set that he has, I think still untapped scoring potential for what I think he can do. I think Lucas Raymond's going to have like a 70-point year. If he stays with DeBrincat and Larkin on that top line. Edmonton's tough for me. Dylan Holloway, if he plays a full season, I think we're going to see breakout like 40, 50 points. But I think Ryan McLeod, just also because he can play wing or center, he has that versatility. If they ever want to go back to that format of Nuge as the center, which I don't know if they're ever going to do again, but I think they like Ryan McLeod as the third line center, and he played well in the playoffs. But if they ever go back to that format of Nuge in the third line, McLeod can go up on the left wing. And I mean, if he finds himself with McDavid or Draisaitl at any point, he's going to put up crazy numbers. So McLeod would be my hot take, but I feel like Holloway, if he's in that top 6 or even top 9, I think he's going to put up some numbers this year. All right, let's go to the next part of the list. All right, Florida Panthers. I think we've seen flashes of what we could get from Anton Lundell. So Lundell's going to be unreal for the Panthers. I think even at some point, if they lose guys like Reinhardt in the future, Lundell's going to play a huge part for the top 6 of the Florida Panthers. Obviously going forward with the core of Barkov and Tkachuk. And yeah, I think Lundell's going to be a huge part of that. LA Kings. I mean, I got some hot takes here. I mean, I think the easy answer here is Quentin Byfield. And I think Byfield's going to have a great year, especially if he plays next to Kopitar, learns from Kopitar. He might not play center off the bat here, but in a couple of years, maybe. But if Byfield's up there, he'll put up numbers, I think. Kaliev, for me, I think what they lost in that Jets trade and putting Dubois up the middle, I think they really need a guy to step up on that wing. And Kaliev's a natural winger and a natural goal scorer. I think Kaliev's going to score 30-plus goals this year. Maybe some people think I'm crazy for that, but if he's in the top 6 consistently, and I don't know, say he's either playing with like Dubois and Fiala or Dubois and Kempe, because I mean Kempe might be on the top line with Byfield and Kopitar, for example, and then you go Fiala, Dubois, and Kaliev as a second line. Like, that's pretty nasty. I think at least one of those guys on that line will score 30-plus goals. I think 2 of them could score 30-plus goals. So look out for Kaliev this year. Marco Rossi, for me, is another one where it's just like easy to go to. If he gets the opportunity, he should shine, especially if he's got 2 great wingers next to him, for example, like Zook and Kaprizov. But Brock Faber's the sneaky one for me. I feel like there's a couple of those right shot guys, young guys on the Wild right now, and Brock Faber, when he came over in that trade, I feel like the Wild have been super impressed. So I feel like Brock Faber, if he finds any time again, Dumba's gone. Keep in mind, Dumba's gone. There's an opportunity to be had there, and I feel like Brock Faber might take it. So keep that in mind. My other absolute hot take would be Kalen Addison, but I feel like Faber was showing a little bit more in the playoffs. So Faber, Addison, look out for those guys. Kirby Dach for Montreal. I think there's a few candidates here. I feel like people will be like, oh, Slafkovsky, big bounce back. I don't want to put too much pressure on that guy, but hey, we'll see. I just think Kirby Dach's more ready to take that step. He's like 24 years old, 23 years old, maybe even as young as, let's search it up as I'm talking here. But Kirby Dach, for me, with the size and the potential of playing with Caulfield and Suzuki, like, that's huge. And I think he's going to get that opportunity because Montreal's been super confident and he's still only 22. Like, I was thinking he's 23 plus here. Kirby Dach is 22, and I think that just shows even more so how much room he has to grow here. He's turning 23 in January, so this guy is super young still, and I think the fact that he's going to have a breakout like this, or at least I'm confident he will, this young. So I think he's going to get the opportunity. I think he's going to do it. 60, 70 plus points for Kirby Dach. Hot take maybe, but we'll see. Tomasino. I think Phil Tomasino and Evangelista, I think those 2 guys for Nashville are going to be nasty. So Tomasino, I think he's a bit more ready as well. I'll go Tomasino. Alexander Holtz, I think if he gets the opportunity in the top 9, maybe even top 6 for the Devils, I think he's the candidate here. I mean, Luke Hughes is just stepping on the scene. Like, Holtz has been in the system here for a couple of years. Luke Hughes steps in late season playoffs. So I think Luke Hughes is going to have a great year, but I'll go Holtz as the breakout. Noah Dobson, people are going to be like, what are you talking about? Guys had quite a few years in the league now and put up big numbers. But I feel like as a whole, and if you talk to a lot of Islanders fans, Dobson has so much more room to grow. So I'm not just talking pure offense here. I'm talking an overall defenseman, and I've always stressed that you can't expect a defenseman to grow in a complete sense until like 24, 25. And I think we're at that point with Dobson. I think he's going to put up a 60, 70-point season. If he's put him on the top power play, put your confidence in him. And I think Dobson's going to have a great year. and I think the Islanders rely on his offense. Similar to how the Kraken relied on Vince Dunn's offense last year, I think Dobson's in a similar situation. Wallstrom, he could also be a candidate here if he gets that time and if he stays healthy. Rangers, Alexi Lafreniere. You know what? I think it's between Lafreniere or Kakko at this point. It's either one of you boys step up or one of you are getting dealt. So, and it might end up being the person that steps up stays and the person that doesn't goes. But Lafreniere, I think it's time. I mean, you were first overall pick a couple years ago. I think it's time to get like a solid, again, you don't want to put crazy expectations on the guy, but like 60-point season, I think Rangers fans are laughing, especially if you're like looking at him as like the fourth or fifth option in terms of production. Obviously, you're going to rely on Mika, Panarin, Kreider, Trocheck, and we'll see if they re-sign Patty Kane. But you're going to rely on guys like that. But then, obviously, you have to look at a guy like Laff. And first overall pick, he's got to put up numbers this year. Sokolov and Ridley Gregg Sokolov's just such a hot take because now after signing Tarasenko, I don't even know if he's going to get an opportunity in the lineup, but don't be sleeping on Sokolov. I think the size he brings, he's going to be a great like third line type guy and maybe even higher than that. But Ridley Gregg for me, I think between him and Pinto, they're going to have big years, but Pinto just had a productive year. I think Gregg's next up. But my hot take and like weird take is he's been around again for a while. Shabbat, I feel like less stress on him might actually help in a big way. A full season of Chychrun, I think Shabbat could really turn it up. And he hasn't had like a crazy productive year. Like I'm shocked that we haven't seen like a 50-plus point season from Shabbat. So we'll see. Flyers, Morgan Frost. I think if he's on that top line or top six, I think he'll find a lot of time with like a guy like Tippett. So I think Frost and Tippett are going to have big years. And Drew O'Connor with the Penguins, with no Jake Gensel, they always find a guy to step up and get out of their system. Drew O'Connor's been third, fourth line for the most part with Pittsburgh. I think if he finds himself in the top six, it's going to be Drew O'Connor or Alex Nylander that are going to strive off an opportunity this year in the top six. And whoever does could break out. My hot take for Drew O'Connor would be 20-plus goals, but maybe that's a stretch. We'll see. All right, last part of the list. Easy answer again, William Eklund. I just feel like the Sharks, there's no in between. They've got their veterans and they've got their super young guys. Eklund, Bordelot, I'm seeing some big opportunities for those guys. Tolvanen. I'm just looking at the Kraken, and I'm sure a lot of people, probably like 90% of people are going to say Shane Wright here, and maybe that's the easy answer. Tolvanen, for me, the fact that we haven't seen like a massive breakout in terms of like 50, 60 points, I just feel like, I don't even know if he's had a 40-plus point season, so someone fact-check me on that, but the fact that we haven't seen that from Tolvanen yet, and he could play with guys like Yanni Gordon, Bjorkstrand, I think we could see like a sneaky 50-plus point season from Tolvanen. So he's my hot take here because I feel like even if Shane Wright gets in the lineup, is he getting to that point total? And between the two guys, I feel like Tolvanen might have some production this year. Between Hofer and Neighbors, this one's tough, man, because I feel like Binner's still the guy in St. Louis, but Joel's had some good numbers recently, especially in the AHL. It's tough. Jake Neighbors could be the easy answer here because, again, if he finds himself in the top 9, he could put up some numbers. It's between these two guys for me. Nick Perbix, Tampa, another tough one. I feel like Tanner Jeannot, he had that great year in Nashville. If he scores 20 goals again, I mean, it's the same thing. Not really a breakout. Esamont would be my hot take here, but I'm going to go Perbix if he finds consistent time with Hedman. I rode with Joseph Wall here. The tough thing is like I'm still high on Sammy in a way. Like Samsonov could have a great year, so Wall only gets like 20, 30 games in, right? So I put it kind of in order. Like Matthew Nyes is a rookie, so I'm not really counting him, but similar to like a Luke Hughes situation. So between Wall, Liljegren, and Robertson, I think Robertson's if he stays healthy, Liljegren if he stays consistent in the top 4 and stops taking crazy risks. But Wall, I mean, I think Wall's actually the most ready to be a consistent NHLer, and he's a little bit older than the other two guys. I think Wall's already like 25. So, and people are shocked by that because he's just entering the league. So I think Wall's ready. The maturity, I think, showed in the playoffs. And I think if Wall finds himself in 30 to 40 games in that range, I think that's going to be considered a breakout. I think he puts the numbers up. So Wall's going to be my pick. But watch out for Liljegren and Robertson this year. Canucks, put Colson or Beauvillier. And Beauvillier, another one for me. I just look at Beau's career so far, and I feel like he's been a notable NHL player, but the fact that he hasn't cracked, I don't think he's cracked 50 points either. Like, similar to Tolvanen, he's been around for a while. People have been high on him, but he just hasn't cracked like a 50-plus point season. So I think for Beau, he had that pace or close to it last year with Vancouver towards the end. I think Viveiros, if he finds the consistent time with Pettersson, or if he gets traded and gets a big role, I think he could be a 50, 60 point guy. But he's got to be consistent. The consistency is big with him. Dorofeyev with Vegas. Funny seeing him score his first NHL goal off his face, but he could actually find consistent time. The Golden Knights lost a couple guys. Obviously, they made it a focus to bring back Barbashev. I think Dorofeyev could be another guy that slides into the top 9 and puts some numbers up. Sandin was the easy one for me. I mean, I still stand by. I think the Leafs are going to have some huge regret. Obviously, this was Dubas' decision, so he just walks away hands clean. But yeah, I think the Leafs are going to regret this one. Sandin, I would say for me, especially what he showed towards the end last year, I think if he gets consistent second power play time behind Karlsson, top 4 time, for me, he's probably a lock for 30, 40 points. And for a young defenseman like that, that's big. So I'm going to go Sandin breaks out in a full season. Cole Perfetti with Winnipeg. The Jets are turning, I would say, a new leaf in a way after Dubois. Will they trade Scheifele? We'll see. But Perfetti, I think, is going to get a big role regardless in that top 6. He'll maybe find himself on the third line at times, but I would say top 6 for Perfetti. So big breakout for him coming. So let me know what you guys think on this list. Hit that subscribe button, like, notification bell, and let me know if I missed anyone. But yeah, we'll see you on the next video. Peace.